Welcome to the Politics of Everything. I'm Amber Daines, your host and podcast producer. This is a half hour of power, a podcast dropping every week where I unpack the politics of everything, from money to motherhood, nutrition to narcissism, startups to secularism, the environment, quality, and much, much more. Our guests are seasoned in the field or topic of their choice, even if you've not heard of them yet. This is a non-partisan show. So while I love exploring varied views and get a buzz from a healthy debate of ideas, this is not a purely blue, white, green program. Please subscribe, tune in and enjoy the politics of everything. AI is the hot topic of the past 2 years in all kinds of businesses, from insurance to fashion to finance. And what about the world of coaching? My guest today is on board with over 3 decades of entrepreneurial success and the remarkable ability to overcome life-threatening health challenges. Katharine Loucaidou is a powerhouse of resilience and innovation, from founding successful businesses to revolutionizing the coaching industry with her groundbreaking AI platform called Katharine AI. She empowers entrepreneurs and leaders to reach unprecedented heights. Her book, AI Secrets for Unstoppable Business and Life Hacks, offers transformative strategies blending her vast experience with cutting-edge technology. She's also the host of the widely esteemed Mindset Medicine podcast, where her insights on mindset, performance, and business inspire a global audience. Katharine's journey is a testament to the power of unyielding spirit, making her a sought-after speaker and coach who inspires relentless success. And this is such a huge topic, so I warmly welcome you, Katharine, to the Politics of Everything.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here. It's exciting that I get to speak to the other side of the world as well.
Podcasting remotely can be challenging, but it doesn't have to be. Since day one of the Politics of Everything, I have relied on Zencastr's all-in-one solution to make the process quick and painless, the way it should be for those of us who just love great content and want to get our ideas out into the world. If you know me, I'm obsessed with quality in terms of my guests, my sound, and everything about my show has to be great the first time. I'm time poor. It's so easy to use Zencastr. I'm not tech savvy and you don't need to be either. There's nothing to download. Just click on the link and off we go. Zencastr is all about making your podcasting experience easy, and with everything from local recording to automatic post-productions now in their toolkit, you don't have to leave your browser to get that episode done, and done fast. I have a special offer for you, and hopefully you can experience what I have with Zencastr. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my VIP code, the Politics of Everything, all lowercase and one word, to get 30% off your first 3 months of Zencastr Professional. How good is that? I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. We have a huge audience in the US as well, so you'll probably be speaking to people that, we might have an overlap in our podcast audience. You never know.
I love it. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be a guest of yours.
Excellent. Look, I want to start off by asking you the question I ask all my guests. What did young Katharine think she wanted to do as a career, and I guess early on in your, career journey? Can you join the dots for us? I know AI didn't exist when you were growing up, so you can't say you wanted to do exactly what you're doing now, but did you have an idea of what you thought you might do?
So I did. So it was sort of a mix of 3 things. And funny enough, they're almost interconnected. So I know when I was younger, both my parents are from Europe. So we used to travel back and forth. My mother's from Ireland and my father's from Cyprus. So we would travel back and forth. And I always thought that it would be wonderful to be an air hostess on British Airways.
It was pretty prestigious back in the day. I remember that. It was glamorous.
Very much so. Yeah. I loved it. And they had the two level Boeings. And so I thought that was just amazing as a child. And then when I got into high school, I started getting really fascinated by law, and I wanted to become a lawyer. So interestingly enough, sort of toward the end of high school, I realized I was excelling in English. So I went on to study English, and I got a master's degree a bit later on, but I went on to become a teacher for many years, and then a university professor.
Wow,
so
that's so interesting.
Although it's not exactly what I had hoped, the beautiful thing is coming back now as a coach, I get to travel and I get to speak to audiences. I get to coach and educate and help guide people. So it almost came sort of like a full circle is how I see it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I do love knowing where people have come from because I think it either goes two ways, right? It makes sense, or people have a complete pivot and they do something, wildly different. But it's all part of your story, and it's really good for the audience to understand that. So, getting into our topic today around AI and coaching, how does AI work as a business coach? Because your experience is obviously you've come to this place in your business where you've decided to integrate AI. You've got your own tool. How did you get here?
So it's actually quite interesting. I'm actually going to go back a little bit. In 2004, I decided to get my master's degree in educational technology. So this is before Facebook. It was sort of the very early years of the internet. And what was interesting is my thesis was trying to prove whether a student would learn better online than they would on a hard copy, reading from a textbook and so on. And because I was in my teaching realm at that time, I took 200 students. I actually built my first online course that was part of the thesis that I was going to do. I had to learn to code it myself back in 2004. And I had I was not a computer scientist. I wasn't anything, but I was fascinated to figure out how the computer could enhance the way students think and learn. So created this course. 200 students took the test, and the average for that online test or course that I did was between a 90 and 95 average. I waited
Mm.
2 weeks, and then I gave all of the students the same course to do on paper as we did in the classrooms. And the average grade on paper was between 60 and 70 for the same test.
Wow, that's
So
interesting. You've got the
it
metrics
was.
to back that up. That's
It
fascinating.
was. And so, I have this huge dissertation, which I then had to bound, and it's an actual, I don't, about 150 pages long. So I had to give all of the theory to prove all of this. So the reason the internet was created was to mimic the way that our neurons hit each other in our brains, to make this most simplified way I can. And so this is what happens when students learn online. Their brain is, it's this search. So you hit one subject that then makes you think of the next idea, which then promotes the next idea, and so on, which is how our neural pathways work in our brain. When we get to paper and hard copy, we are scanning a paper. So it's sort of this one dimensional way of learning. And so when students are learning from paper, they are passive learners because they're taking in the information. Whereas when they're online, it is interactive. So, of course, I did this master's degree and I got my thesis. My husband looks at me, he says, so now what are you going to do with this? There's nobody who's into technology right now because even Facebook hadn't been in existence yet.
Yeah,
So I
right.
basically put it on a shelf, but I guess you could say my secret passion behind, in teaching and coaching has always been I've loved technology for a long, long time.
Mm.
And AI has been around since 1956, which most people do not
I
know.
know. I have corporate clients who are like in the actuarial space and in climate change modeling, and they're like, we've been doing this for decades. It's just no one cared
Yes.
until last few years because it
Well,
wasn't
and
mainstream enough.
exactly. And that's exactly what you just said, that key word, because the reason that Chat GPT came so popular is because of the original company called Open AI. They've opened the doors so that it has public usage. Before, you really did have to be a computer scientist or data scientist to be able to understand how to interact with the AI because coding was involved. But now that it has been opened and coding is no longer required, this is where everything becomes really fascinating. So, right at the onset, about 2 years ago, when I started noticing that I could get into a beta platform and try it out, I started doing that. And so that's what created the book that I wrote. AI Secrets for Unstoppable Business Success and Life Hacks, as I was coaching entrepreneurs, I realized that there was this misunderstanding about what AI is. We've watched the science fiction movies. I don't know if you remember, but there was a show back when I was a child called The Jetsons.
Oh, yes.
And, they were flying in the air and there was a machine making their food and it would pop out. So a lot of the, what shall we call it? Let's say subconscious idea we have of AI is that it's this futuristic thing going on. But really, it's already been existence in our phones. If you have a Nest, where you can control the temperature in your home, all of that is artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So
I
I
think people
decided,
haven't really realized that. I think people have kind of seen
no,
it as like,
no,
that's the really
no.
techie side. That's not for me. And now we're seeing, like what
Yes,
you've done in your business, the blending, the marriage, if you like, of everyday, ordinary tasks, whether that be in your
yes.
home or in your office, and AI. And I think it's going to happen more and more. So that's really fascinating to know where you started with that. And as a coach, what are its limits? Obviously, they still need you, right?
Right. And so what I did was the tool that I created was I have created a digital clone of myself. So it's been an extremely fun process. So after I wrote the book, I thought, how can we move this to the next level? So I did create a clone of myself. And what's fascinating is training the clone because it is AI. You do have to input instruction. So what I was inputting was emotional intelligence. So imagine sitting in front of a computer and you're now scripting and writing, explaining to the clone that when a client talks to you, this is how I'd like you to respond. And, and I had to use words. I'd like you to be empathetic. I would like to ask further questions and so on. So it is known that AI lacks deep emotional insight and human empathy. However, if you can train it, because AI is so smart and it learns exponentially with every prompt that we put into it, it will learn the pattern of behavior. So I uploaded hundreds and hundreds of videos. So it has the way that I speak and the nuances of how I speak. So that's what's the fun part is we know that AI is lacking the emotional intelligence. It also lacks creativity. We also have to train it to be creative. And that's the beauty of a human being is that we have the creativity. So, and you used this word before, the marriage of the two, that is how I see this. I don't see
Yes.
this as AI taking over. I see this as it enhancing who we already are and making us better at what we do.
Yeah, and I guess saving you a lot of time as well. It's very time intensive being a coach, particularly if you work with clients one
Yes.
on one. And I guess just to play devil's advocate, do you feel that clients have moved with you on this journey, or do they still expect, that more personalized kind of creativity that you mentioned to
Well, I
make
love,
coaching
yeah.
worthwhile? Like, what's your feedback been from the market?
So, well, that's really interesting. So, I did beta test this digital clone for 2 months with my clients. And, the first week, no one really knew what to do with it. They were using it like Google, I call her Katharine AI. And what I said to them is I went back to everyone and I said, and I would meet with them weekly. And I said to them, I'd really love you to try talking to it and chatting with it as if you were talking to me. And so after I told them that, the next week, you noticed that the conversation became more fluid. They were thanking it or her. So, oh, thank you so much. That's a really great idea. Well, what do you think about this? And because I've trained Katharine AI to be very conversational, all of a sudden the conversations day by day started getting longer and longer. So at the end of the 2 months of the beta testing, I went back and I said, how do you feel about this? And they said, you know what? At first I was hesitant because I really didn't understand the concept of it all, but now I get it. Because I'm not removing the coaching and the human aspect, this is an enhancement of my coaching. So, what do I mean by that? If we have weekly coaching sessions, well, what happens if you need my help during the week? Or what happens where you just feel stuck one morning? You're doing a social media, you want to do a social media post, or maybe you just need help with, what should I really be working on today? This is my goal for the end of the week. Can you help me figure out what that is? Instead of messaging me or emailing me every thought that they have, they can go into this digital clone of mine and brainstorm with her, so that by the end of the week, they come back and now we've actually moved a couple of steps forward even faster than we were when with just the weekly meetings, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess you're adding value in that sense, which I guess all clients want, right? No matter what industry you're in.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's as if you have me now 24/7, always in your pocket. So, you're watching one of your children's soccer games or a baseball game or swimming or whatever the case may be. You don't have to just sit there now thinking, "Oh my gosh, well, how do I respond to that email tomorrow morning? My client didn't seem very happy and I'd really like to answer in this way." They can just go into Katharine AI and say, "Hey, I'm having this situation right now and really not sure how to respond. This is and then what Katharine AI will do is provide you, here's some possible responses. What if you answer like this? How does that make you feel?" And
Yeah.
so
Wow.
again, right, we have offset some issues or problems that didn't even have to occur because we were able to get to them quickly.
Yes. No, I love that. I love the convenience. And I think most people would be sold on that just from your description of it, let alone experiencing it as well. I guess the reality is tech moves fast. You probably have updated your own clone several times since you started this process as well. Do leaders need to refresh their AI skills? And what's the best way to do that? Because a lot of people who would seek coaching would be very busy. And so they don't want to be in the weeds of tech, but they do want to have a grip on what's possible and make sure that, it's fit for purpose in terms of what they need. How do you advise people to do that?
So, what I am coaching leaders and entrepreneurs on is adopt 3 to 5 AI tools now. And so I don't want them to be complicated. I mean, use an AI email app, for example. That's what I do every day. So now I don't wake up in the morning and have 30 emails, which used to happen all in a row in front of me. My AI email will actually sort out, these are newsletters, and they put them in a newsletter category for me. They will take current correspondence that's ongoing right now, let's say between clients, and they put that at the top as priority. So it sorts my email for me. I can even put reminders on my email now to remind me at 4 o'clock to respond to that email that I haven't responded to yet. So what I love is I give I like simplicity, but I like it to remove the tediousness of what really is taking up people's time in their day.
Mm.
So for me, it's using an email app. It is using notes apps. So I use a note app in conjunction with either ChatGPT or Katharine AI. So for example, I'm going for a walk and I have these ideas, or I have a client who I'm thinking about, because sometimes we go back and we're thinking about their situation, or we're thinking about a possible plan forward for them. So as I'm going for a walk in the afternoon, I have some ideas and I put all of them down, but they're not always in a logical or rational order. They're just sort of ideas that come to me. What I do is I take those notes, copy and paste them, put them into ChatGPT, or I put them into Katharine AI, and I say, "Can you organize these for me? I'm looking to create sort of a plan for them for the next step in their journey." And then within a minute, not even a minute, I should say maybe 3 seconds, all of a sudden I have this bullet pointed plan in front of me of my notes, but it's now coherent and I didn't have to spend the time doing that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's fantastic. I love it. It's so clever. It really is. Just changing tack a little bit. And look, we have talked a lot about AI, and obviously that's our topic for today around the coaching business you have. What would be another business tool or hack that you're really loving at the moment, either in your personal life or your professional life?
Let me see. I'll give a very quick example of both. So I use Slack, and I find Slack to be a phenomenal AI tool. And I say AI because it now has AI enrolled within it. I also use Canva with AI. And both of these tools, I go back and forth with assistants and so on. And we really have sped up the work process of what content, for example, content creation doesn't need to take long anymore. So that is one of the business tools that I've really enjoyed using. A personal one is I am very much into health and wellness. So I love the health app on my watch. I have programmed it to remind me to drink water. I've programmed it to remind me to stand up. And now I know that sounds like a funny thing, but
Oh,
if
no, we
you're
need all those
working,
prompts. If you're deep in the zone and you haven't moved for 2 hours,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So what I do is I compete against myself. So I have set each of those parameters for example, I want to be drinking 140 ounces of water a day, which to some people might be a lot, but I find that my body works well with a lot of water, keeps me alert and so on.
Me too. I never understand those people like, I haven't had a drink. I haven't had a
Oh,
drink of
yes,
water
I
all day.
know.
I'm literally like, my brain, my body, everything doesn't
Yes,
work.
exactly. So when I have all these things, what I used to find is that my mind and my brain was inundated with so many things that I had to remember, whether it was to do with my kids or whether it was to do with, okay, what's a healthy thing I'm going to eat tonight? Whatever it was, I don't have to worry about these things anymore. I just have alerts letting me know, but everything is it's all AI empowered, and I have set the parameters for everything. And so this is what I love about it. And I'll give you this quick, cute little example. In Katharine AI, my digital clone, I've programmed her to also coach mindset and health and wellness. And I've been on, let's say, I don't want to call it a diet. Let's just say a lifestyle change where I just want to eat really pure, good, healthy food, whole foods, sort of like the Mediterranean diet. So I was at a restaurant with my mother a couple weeks ago. And honestly, I was really struggling with this menu. I took a picture of the menu, I uploaded it into Katharine AI, and I said, the diet that I'm following now, what my goals are. Please scan this menu and tell me what is the best option for me to choose. And that's what she did. She told me how to change one of the menu items, asked the waitress to change one of the menu items for me slightly. She told me how many calories I would be consuming and how many I would have left after that meal for the rest of the day.
Incredible. That's
It really
amazing.
is. It's phenomenal. And so what I found is my health in the last year has just been so enhanced. I have a health history. When I was 33, I had a massive heart attack. I then had triple bypass surgery. I then had a minor stroke. And I was able to reverse that in 7 years. And so since then, I have not been on medication. But as I get older, and if you have audience here who have ever had any health challenges, what happens as you get older is doctors want you to go back on medication, right? They'll
Yeah.
say, I think you should go on cholesterol. I think you should. And I kept making these deals with my doctor. And I said, listen, if I can get all of my blood panels perfect, will you stop asking me to go? And he said, with your heart history, okay, you show me what you can do. Well, in the last year, I have got my blood panels so, I'm going to call it above average in the goods aspect that I do not take medicine at all, not a pill for anything.
Amazing. I love
Simply
it. That's
because I
like
have
revolutionary. Like
it.
that's
Well, it really is, and that for me, it's life, and we can talk about what success looks like and everything, but for me, I really believe in in living this beautiful holistic life. And business is wonderful, but so is health, and so is our wellness, and so is our mindset. So when I coach people, and I trained Katharine AI the same way, that we're going to talk about all of these aspects, because I don't think we can talk just about business or about being a leader without talking about your mindset. And I
I
don't think we
agree.
can talk about your mindset without talking about your health and your wellness and what you do every day to improve it. So for me, it's all connected.
Yeah, I love it. I think a lot of people would relate to that as well. What's been your biggest life lesson to date, and why has it been so important to you?
My biggest life lesson, it has been resilience. It is having to have bounced back. I remember when I was 33, after having open heart surgery and the stroke and everything. I mean, I was just scared. I was plain scared. I kept wondering, am I going to die again tomorrow? Am I going to have another heart attack? And this went on for a little while. But what I realized was, when you finally decide that you're not going to live in fear, and you're just going to say, you know what? No, this is a blessing. I've been given a second chance at life. Now I'm going to just go for it. I'm going to go for everything that I have the opportunity to achieve in life. And I have found that this resilient mindset has helped me through business. I moved countries. When everything happened in my health challenges, I was actually living in Cyprus for 15 years. I left Canada, moved there when I was 22, lived there by myself, got married there, had kids there. And then after all my health challenges, we moved back to Canada. So even moving countries and changing jobs and starting over, that element of resilience is really what has kept me going through professional challenges, health, really everything.
Yeah.
And so that's what I instill when I'm coaching to my kids, to anyone who comes in contact with me. I always just tell them, no, get back up. You've got this, because you are stronger when you get back up.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That's very inspirational as well. And how do you define your own version of success these days?
For me, it is, I used to think that there was this thing called balance, where I could balance the kids and balance my work and balance my health, but I don't really think that it's about balance anymore. It's about just being able to flow in all of them. I used to think that everything was disconnected, when in fact it's not. So my goal and my version of success is becoming the highest version of myself that I can be. Because if I can do that, then I can be my very best for everyone that I help and who comes in contact with me.
Yeah.
So when I can do my very best and innovate in AI and in business and help people move their journeys along, then I have succeeded in that quadrant. When
Fantastic.
I can have a really successful marriage, we're going to be married 28 years this year. My one son, he is already running his own digital media company. He's only 26. My younger son is studying astrophysics. He's 21. So if I can just be that very best version of myself, I do believe that it creates the ripple effect to everyone around you.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Very good. Very inspiring as well. And just to wrap up our conversation today, Katharine, what would be your final takeaway message for everyone listening on the politics of AI coaching?
What I would say is, it's not something to fear. The only reason we fear something is because we don't fully understand it. So I would suggest that everyone become really curious. That's all. Just become curious about AI and research some of the tools that I mentioned today. I also have a lot of tools in the book that I wrote. Because if you can start using one tool and you notice just how much your life can change and the amount of time that you will get back in your day, it's life changing. And so then that will, sort of prompt you to move on to the next tool and say, well, if that helped me, imagine if I could adopt this next one. And then what if I did that to my health? What if I could organize my children's schedules? And it just goes on and on and on. So it's about really just embracing AI is here to stay. And really, the only people that AI will replace are the people who aren't using AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been an awesome conversation. If anyone out there wants to connect further with Katharine or her clone, there are some details on the show notes. Until next time, take care. Thanks so much for listening today. If you've enjoyed the politics of everything, I thrive on your feedback. So please add a short review and share the podcast with your network through Apple, Spotify, and all the usual suspects. I'm always on the hunt for new and diverse guests. So if you or someone you know has a fresh idea you're busting to get out there, please email me at amber@amberdanes.com and my crew will get back to you very soon.